when Margaret and John died, we moved into the parish of St John Bosco, Engadine in 2008. But our involvement in the parish really, I think, stems from about 2010. We were lying fairly low in the parish because we'd been heavily involved at St Catherine's at Gymea and St Pat's at Sutherland. We were taking a breather until Margaret got the fateful call from Father Mick to say would she join the Parish Pastoral Council.
It was about 9:30 and we got a phone call. Now, who rings you at 9:30 on Sunday night? And it was Father Mick. And he asked me if I'd join the PPC. So I said yes. And when I was on the Parish Pastoral Council, I thought that this parish has so many groups, but apart from the Vinstable, there didn't seem to be very much outreach. I raised with the PPC that we should do something about this, and I got the go-ahead to try.
And the invitation to start a social justice group really was the impetus of what we did. It's continued on from there. When the group made the decision to form a friendship relationship with someone in East Timor, we were fortunate to be able to meet with Abel Gutierrez, who was the ambassador to Australia from East Timor. And he came back very quickly to say that he would like us to go to Maliana. Arriving in Dili and walking along the main thoroughfare through Dili was just an absolute eye-opener. You would be passed by a bus, which would be about a 20-seater bus. The people would be hanging out all over this bus. They would be highly colourful buses. There would be everything from bedding to chickens to goats on the roof of the bus. You'd be passed by a motorbike, a small, 150, 200cc motorbike, and there would be 4 or 5 people on this motorbike. So the sights and the smells and the sounds were just quite incredible. And that continued on our journey from Dili up into the mountains to Maliana.
If Dili's like that and Dili's crowded and busy, Maliana is even poorer and smaller, and we do have photos of the Maliana markets. But Maliana itself is very, very poor. All its infrastructure was destroyed when the Indonesians withdrew after the Timorese voted for independence.
The sites were sites that I had never seen before. Really, really simple buildings made of split bamboo. Kids with carts, and in the carts were water containers, and they used to have to go down to the nearest water source, wherever that might be, fill these containers up, bring them back. Passing little stalls on the road, and outside on the footpath would be plastic containers of diesel and petrol, 2 and 3 litres for sale. No petrol stations, just these little stalls. We were in a sense overwhelmed by all the sights that we saw.
And perhaps one thing that would be an indicator is that a lot of their buildings were temporary, like structures that weren't going to last. And I went up in 2013 and I went up in 2016 when Sister Helen was there both times. And I asked her one day, was she seeing any progress? And she said yes, she could see signs of hope. And one of the signs of hope that she saw was that people were now starting to build permanent residence. So that their history, or their recent history, had been telling them, don't build permanent residence because you're not going to be able to stay here, you're going to be shifted. So there's little bits like that, but that was one of the things that really struck me when she said they're starting to build permanent residence.
visual and functional perspective, the chapel at Odimo was most probably one of the wow things for me. When we went up the first time, we were shown most probably 10 derelict chapels or mass centres in the parish of Maliana. And when we got to Odimo, we were particularly taken because it was the only communal building in this particular village. So it's where they gathered, where they had their special celebrations, where they had mass whenever the priest could make it. It's where they had their weddings. It was the only communal building. And it was virtually derelict. Termites had eaten all of the timber frames. All of the floor had cracked. The foundations were deteriorating. And I think it was for 6,000 Australian dollars we were able to do that building up to the way it looks now. And that has become a communal hub for that community.
The Sea Foundation were building a preschool at Kailako, and she'd run out of money and they hadn't finished, so they needed to tile it all, and she asked would we tile the preschool, which we did. And then since then, for about 2 or 3 years, we supported that school by paying for the teachers' salaries and also paying for a feeding program. So in Timor, the children do not starve to death, but there is permanent malnutrition. They do not get enough food, and what they get is not nutritious, that's the word I want, thank you. And so that's part of, in the little schools, that they feed them at school. So we were paying for what they call the feeding program.
We've actually spent $120,000 plus in various projects up in Maliana and the surrounding little towns. And they've come from a whole variety of fundraising endeavours. So there's been a variety of ways. But I think the ones that have had the major impact have been the bigger ones that Marg might like to talk about.
First of all, I think what we need to say is that how we've funded it is through the generosity of people, particularly the parishioners of Bosco. And so the first thing we did was we launched it with a big dinner, official launch, and that was at the Engadine Bowling Club. So we've done trivia nights, we've done square dances, we've done bush dances, and always we have never paid for the entertainment. There've been people who've stepped up and volunteered. So people have been very generous, but we would not have been able to do anything without the generosity of the people that have supported us. Things that we've done that are not buildings are the scholarships. Yep. And he asked us to sponsor this young man. This is Agostino, and Agostino, we sponsored him via teacher's scholarship to attend Teachers College at Bacau. He's now back teaching in the Maliana schools, so that will have that roll-on effect of the children are now being educated better. The other thing was that Father and Esther asked us to continue to support the sisters in Kailako. And they were sending, I called them girls, but I think some of them are actually young women who come down from the mountains, and they were sending them up to the Morano Centre to do a sewing course. These girls then, the next year, they went down to Dili, and Sister Alma runs a vocational centre in Dili, and she trains them. So there's hospitality, there's office work, and there's sewing, and they sew uniforms for the kids, for the students, and pay for them. And so for the last couple of years, we have been paying rent for a cottage where the sisters run a sewing school for the young girls.
We step right back to the beginning. We wanted to form a friendship agreement, a friendship relationship. But I would hope that we could establish a friendship agreement with the sisters, the Salesian sisters in Kailaka, in their endeavours to provide these girls with an education. They will need support, ongoing financial support, but it would be really good if we were able to also develop a friendship so that we had this connection that Margaret actually has with Sister Virgilia now and Sister Alma, if we could continue that.